Word of the day is, I might have taught you this before, numinous. It's one of these words that is not used in speech. It's used in like philosophical writing, but it's a cool word. So I want.
Compartmental.
No.
Many.
No. It sounds like luminous.
And it sounds like numerous.
It's not exactly that, but it could trend in that way. No, I don't know what the etymology is. So having a strong religious or spiritual quality, indicating or suggesting the presence of a divinity. Yeah, nice. So you could say, for example, if you learn the ideas of shofar before Rosh Hashanah, you increase your chance of having a numinous davening experience. You know, so it's a cool word because, like, what would you use? Like, I guess people use the word spiritual for this, but I feel like spiritual is such a overused and vague term, you know. But like sometimes you do have a numinous experience where like you like feel the reality of that God is real, you know, and like this is like a nice word for that, you know.
Wait.
It's like when you see the sunrise.
Yeah, something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is a really strong religious experience.
Yeah, that you could use it that way, or specifically feeling the presence of a divinity.
Would it be like a person? Person's numinous?
Good question. I guess so. I actually don't know because I don't hear this used, you know. So I have to. I'll have to keep an eye out for it. Okay.
The chef comes, we're all like.
Yeah. Numinous. Yeah. Okay. Rhetorical term of the day is one that you know, but I think your view of it is limited. What is imagery?
Describing things in a way in which the reader can picture them.
Ah, good. Okay, so that is, I think, the limited version. It's true, but it's limited. Really, it's the use of language to represent objects, actions, and ideas in a way that appeals to our physical senses, not just the sense of sight. Okay, right. So we think of visual, right? We think of imagery in terms of the visual, which is the sense of sight, clear blue skies and bright sun. Okay, what is another? What's the one that corresponds to hearing? What's the? Yeah, what's the?
Oh, onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia is a word that is spelled and pronounced the way that it sounds. I'm saying like, there's visual imagery. There is blank imagery that is that pertains to hearing. What would be the word for auditory? Right? Is the alarm chirped like a bird? So you're not causing your reader to picture something. You're causing them to associate to a sound. Okay. What's the one that has to do with the sense of touch? So sensory, people do that for touch, but that's also like for all the senses. Starts with a T.
Tactile.
Tactile. Yeah. Okay. Tactile is the sense of touch. The hot, dry sand beneath her feet. So you're bringing up the tactile imagery of feeling sand. Okay. Now these next two people don't know as much. Smell or taste. Both these are fun words.
I like the smell and something with an N.
Smell is something with an O, and the taste is something.
Olfactory.
Yes, olfactory. Okay,
Wow.
And gustatory. Gustatory people don't use. Gustatory is so for example, the tangy sweetness of the mango. You have imagery of like picturing yourself eating them, or like I can't use picturing. Imagining the taste of mango.
It's also a body part, like in your tongue or something.
Maybe. I mean, there are a lot of words that have, like, how do you say in Spanish that you like something? That's love. Me gusta, right? Gustar is from the same thing, from the word that means, literally means taste, you know? And olfactory, you can remember this one by saying like, oh, it smells like the olfactory. Yeah. The ripe, pungent odor of garbage.
Yeah, sure.
Alrighty, so first thing so there's going to be no homework because of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so no homework. Okay, so let's talk about Bush's 9/11 speech, okay? Looks like you guys did a good job. Let's do what we always do. Tell me how the experience went. What did you find easy, difficult, confusing?
I thought logos was
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It was hard to figure out what was.
Hard to figure out what it is. I think,
I
yeah.
also got confused between ethos and logos in this specific.
Yeah,
case.
Okay. So regarding logos, actually, we'll save our talk for I'm going to go through each one of them just to make sure that we understand this. Anything else that you found? Let me ask you this. Yeah, so that's why I clarified in the WhatsApp group, like you could use full quotations or just paraphrase. What was I going to say? Did you find that you appreciated the speech in a different way when you were specifically looking for the appeals?
Yeah, I think that I also appreciated his tone.
His tone, interesting.
If you see like him trying to use all different things, they like correspond directly to the tone.
Yes. Okay. Good. Yeah. Tone is it definitely like amplifies each of these appeals. So what we're gonna do is all of the answer key stuff that I typed in, we're just gonna go through it, and just in case you have questions or comments, and just use it as a springboard for discussion. So you've already read this, but this will be the second time. So with ethos, I think a lot of you got this, right? Is he had automatic ethos because he's the president, right? And when he speaks, it carries a lot of weight. Even if he's a president that people don't like, the fact that he is a president means that this is like officially the statement of the executive branch of the government, and he's most, qualified to address national matters in the sense of like he's in the know, Then I pointed out that Bush has, in the speech, exhibits all three aspects of ethos. So good character, the fact that he is talking so much about freedom and justice. What else demonstrated his good character in this?
He was like, we were all just saying that. He was like,
Right.
caring for it.
Yeah, caring and empathetic.
Goodwill. I feel like that was both.
I think it actually could be both, right? Right. It's good character in the sense that let's think about the opposite. Think if he didn't demonstrate, if he talked about like statistics, then people would view that as bad character. So the fact that he's talking about the human dimension shows that he's a caring and empathetic person. Goodwill, as you mentioned, it's both, right? Is that he's showing concern for the American people, and he's trying to do the right thing. He clearly wants what's best for America in this speech, right? He's like talking about that. And then good sense is all of the planning that he talks about what we're going to do and what we are doing now and what his vision is of the future, shows that he knows what he's talking about. And he says stuff like, the full resources of the government are doing this, and like Wall Street's going to do that. So he clearly he's a man with a plan. Okay. And the plan itself is part of which appeal? Logos. But the fact that he's a guy who has a plan is ethos, because it causes you to view him in a certain way. Okay. Then he says, then I said, we must remember that as the president of the United States, i.e. the leader of the nation, Bush indirectly draws upon the ethos of all the institutions he mentions by name. When he speaks about our government's emergency response plans, he is speaking as the leader of the emergency response organizations. When he speaks, and he says, I didn't realize a typo there. When he says our military is powerful and is prepared, he is speaking as the commander-in-chief. When he's talking about the federal agencies in Washington, he's speaking as the head of the executive branch. When he mentions that the financial institutions remain strong, he's speaking as the leader of the American economy. What do you call those roles in Soapstone? He's taking on different personas, right? So he's taking on different personas, and that gives him further ethos because it's showing his qualifications in all these areas. We had habit stacking, we had identity stacking, now we're going to do ethos stacking. Okay, what he also does is he piggybacks on the ethos of America. When he's speaking on behalf of America and showing how strong American values are and the character of the American people, then he's really talking about, like, he as the representative of America is kind of talking about himself also, right? Like someone who's saying we Americans blah blah blah, that reflects on the person who's saying that, especially if it's the president. And also when he says we are strong, he's kind of like, if I said that to you guys, right? Like we made it through, the collapse of Shahavet and like showed our dedication to learning and like started a new school, and we are a strong group. So I'm kind of, by praising you and saying that I share these values, also enhancing my own ethos because of the we. You see what I'm saying? All right. Towards the end of his speech, he invokes religious authority. I think some of you mentioned this also by quoting David Melech and Psalms 23. And for who in America do you think this affected this most or persuaded the most? Which demographic? Yeah, the evangelical Christians, right? Yeah. Okay, so they love that. And he's also piggybacking on David Melich's ethos by quoting his words. Yeah. Okay, so any questions on ethos? Hi.
Say hello to everyone.
Hello. Who are you?
Ivan from the show.
Okay, hi.
Yeah.
I think I ran into you in.
Past president.
Okay, good. I think I ran into you in the parking lot one day.
That's correct.
Rabbi Schneeweiss.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We set this all up for you guys.
Thank you so much. We this is already like our second home.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
You use the upstairs for anything at this point?
I don't. I can't. Do you guys?
No, right?
No.
So I can start manipulating the sanctuary and all that for the holidays.
Yep, certainly.
Fantastic.
I actually have a question for you.
Sure.
I forgot my own personal hand sanitizer today, so on the way in,
Upstairs.
can I use it? Okay, yeah. And then also another question of when I'm waiting for class to start here, I sometimes will go into one of the other rooms, and if the light's off, can I turn on the light?
Why not? Sure.
Okay, great. All right. Just wanted to clear it with
Make
you. Thanks.
yourself comfortable.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is a thing that I forgot when I started being mocked on this, but like I think it's a thing that people forget, which is Geneva is using anyone's. It's not just taking objects; it's using anyone's stuff without their permission. You know, that's included in that. And like there are certain things that you can like assume without without asking, just because it's the conventional thing. Like no, you don't have to like. When you flush a toilet or like use the sink, right. But like certainly hand sanitizer is something that like they own that and they bought that for their shul members, and I don't want to assume that I can use it without their permission. And then in terms of electricity, like different people have different like standards in terms of like using electricity that they're not so I don't know if I have to actually halakhically ask for the electricity thing, but certainly hand sanitizer, yes. And like I felt like I should ask, and if he's the president guy, then like he would know, yeah, he's legit. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, what ethos did you see just there in him?
He like said
Yeah. So he listed his qualifications, right? And did you notice your view of him changing? Did you know him before or not?
No.
Okay. Right. So your view of him,
For real? I didn't even think about that.
right. Your view of him changes from some random guy popping his head in to, oh, this guy is like setting up for the shul. He was the past president, which gives him a certain prestige. He like, goodwill. He wanted to check in on us, make yourself at home. Yeah, okay. And this actually is a good thing to, I'm going to introduce you to a term here, okay? What we just had there is a rhetorical transaction, okay? A rhetorical transaction is when rhetoric is the art of persuasion, right? So he, without us even being aware of it, persuaded us of a bunch of things about himself, about what was the logos element of what he said?
Everything is your free use.
Right. So he definitely made a claim which he has the authority to make, which is that everything is here for you to use. And he was informing us that he's going to start setting up for the shul. That is logos because it's conveying well, in this case, a fact, right, or a statement of intent. And why do we? What do you call it? In this case, what is the only evidence we have for believing that he's going to follow through with it? Is the fact that he said it and the fact that he had established his ethos. In other words, he didn't even make an argument for why he needs to do this now, right? He didn't say like, oh, I need to set this up. Maybe we could assume stuff. Why do we think he needs to set this up right now? Because Rosh Hashanah is coming up, right? We're assuming that based on the exigence, right? That there's, and the context, okay?
This is so cool.
Yeah, this is what my goal by the end of this class is you see the rhetoric in everything, even when you're not aware of it. And what about pathos? What emotions did this interaction make you feel? Yeah, right. You felt comfortable. You felt like a guest. Yeah, right. And that also shows goodwill of him being so generous. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. And what was his tone? Yeah.
Very happy.
Friendly.
Happy, genuine, friendly, welcoming, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
This is so much easier than a speech.
Yeah.
You see it in person.
Yeah, and that's why I'm hoping that you start seeing this in your everyday interactions. And again, I think
I'm gonna say it every time I talk to someone.
yeah. And in fact, can we, I actually want to interrupt here. Okay. to show you something that I was gonna save if we had time, but this is too good to pass up. Do you guys know who Paul Rudd is? You guys seen anyone? He is an actor. So I don't know all of his movies, but I think the most recent thing that he was in a lot of is he was Ant-Man in the Avengers. Anyone Avengers fan?
Yeah, I know Avengers.
Yeah, okay.
That's probably why he sounds familiar.
So I'm going to show this to you. I honestly don't know who the audience of this is. Okay, so this is Cuomo, Governor Cuomo is making has this mask up campaign where like they're making lots of commercials and like things to try to get people to wear masks.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've never seen those.
yeah, so I see it talked about a lot. So this is
The variety commercial.
so let's skip the commercial.
So we can watch everything together.
Okay, so hold on a second. So when we watch this, think about Soapstone, okay? And specifically, I want to know who the audience is, okay? And I honestly don't know if you will find this as funny as I did. I found this hilarious, okay? So we'll see. Not this. This is going to introduce him.
That's what's in
Wait, that's not the right commercial. Hold on. Yeah, I just find, yeah, hold on. Wait. We got to find the right
Words of the
one.
video, are you sure?
Yeah, I think they, oh, yeah. No, that's just recapping it. Okay, hold on. Let's go to, oops, not YouTube. Let's go to Paul Rudd mask. Okay. Yeah, yeah, okay, this is the one I want. Okay, so this might have some overlap, but
It's easy, it's simple. Please, it's not hard. People are dying. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying. And it's preventable. It's preventable. Just wear a mask. I shouldn't have to make it fun. It's science. It's science.
is that the end? No.
Look at us.
Okay, so first of all,
I do not know that. I approve this.
so first of all, what made it funny? Those who thought it was funny.
He was downgrading the genre.
Yes, he was subverting the genre. Okay, good. That's one of the things. Yeah, right. So what I feel like there was a category of things he kept on doing, like of techniques he kept on using, that all could be lumped under one. Like, what was he doing with his words? In what way, though? Yes, I thought that was the thing that was through the entire thing. He was using like Generation Z and millennial slang, but using it slightly incorrectly, you know, and also throwing in references in clearly like obviously not genuine ways, but just to, you know, and that's why I don't know who this was aimed at, because clearly like people who know how to use the slang correctly will find it funny because he's using it incorrectly. But like, he's also poking fun at the fact that people who are like adults and don't get all of these new things, you know, are gonna laugh at the fact that he's trying to be one of the younger generation. So that's why I'm not exactly sure like what audience.
Also making fun of like the younger generation.
Yes, he's also making fun of the younger generation, but because it's so self-deprecating, then you don't feel like you're being made fun of in a mean way necessarily. I mean, I don't know if you do or not, but yeah, right. But yeah, anyway, so.
He tried to appeal to different audiences.
Yeah.
TikTokers, like people who like rap. Like,
Yeah.
people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that because I thought that was a funny and relevant thing. Okay, let's finish the 9/11 thing, and then I have to show you something else. So Pathos. I think you guys, almost all of you said that you found Pathos to be the biggest part of his speech, right? So we did this a lot with the tone thing, but a lot of imagery, right? He described physically the attack itself, and he named emotions like these acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. So chaos is something that provokes feelings of panic in the audience. He uses very emotionally charged diction like evil and the worst of human nature provokes this feeling in you of like, oh, these people are horrible. And he also uses positive diction, like our country is strong. And when you hear that, you're like, yeah, we're strong. Great people has been moved to defend a great nation. Using the word great makes you feel good about your people. We responded with the best of America, justice, peace. These are all very positive diction infused words. Do you notice, I forgot if anyone wrote this, the us versus them? I know a lot of you noticed the we, but he made it into like there's two teams. There's Team America and there's Team Terrorists.
You sound like it was the war against terror.
Exactly, right. And you got to remember, we've heard that phrase, the war against terror, for a long time, but that was not a thing until 9/11, the war against terror. Like now it's like, we don't even think of it. But he was using it because he had to convince America that we are going to war or that we are in a war.
Really, like,
Yeah. He also was counteracting feelings that the audience might have. Like America felt helpless and like victims. And he said, we're not just sitting around, we're still going strong and getting things done. Also he clearly is trying to reassure America, give them security and make you feel resilient.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did people like Bush?
So people liked Bush a lot in the month of September, the September 11th happened, and right afterwards. The country was split in terms of electing him, right? That was the controversial election between him and Gore, and it wasn't clear at the time who actually won. And then a lot of people ended up not liking Bush because he led America into many wars. So divided, you know, yeah. Okay. He also awakened feelings of or amplified feelings of grief and talked about the sadness that we have, and then he endowed this with religious feelings. Okay, now and unity, right? That was the we thing. Yeah. Okay, I'm skimming through this because you've already read it. Okay, logos. So again, logos does not mean logic. It comes from the same source as logic, but logos is really, think of it as more the argument he's making and the claims he's making. This is where I, in my mind, when I analyze the logos of something, usually divide it into like an outline type thing. So the way I viewed it is his speech had 3 parts: to reframe terrorism in America's response, to set forth how America will respond, and then to acknowledge the role of God and everything. So phase 1, he has a claim that they're attacking our way of life, okay, not just our buildings. And he says that they were deliberate and deadly, which we obviously knew, but he's emphasized, what is he claiming about the enemy here? That they're malicious, right? So he's painting them as real villains who wish death upon us. He's framing this as a failure. Now, that's a bold claim, right? Because how is the average American going to view the terrorists? They succeeded. They killed thousands of people, right? So he's saying, though, no, they have failed because they did not defeat our way of life, and they didn't weaken us in terms of our resolve, and our country is strong. That's another claim that he's making. And remember, in an actual, if you're analyzing an actual argument, so each of these claims, in order to be fully persuasive, does need to be backed up by evidence. But in a short 5-minute speech, then he's going to be relying on certain assumptions people are making and not try to like argue rigorously. Another argument: they failed because our nation's strong. Terrorists can shake us, but they can't dent the steel of American resolve. No one will keep that light from shining. These are all more and more claims. Now phase 2 is, what are we doing about this? So he's saying we have rescue efforts underway. Our government will continue. Our country will continue. We will catch the enemy and bring them to justice. We will. He defines who the good guys are and includes the other branches of government and the American allies and world leaders. And we're going to war against the terrorists and everyone who harbors them. Phase 3 is, he says that we find comfort in God and may God guide us. Okay, and that's a religious thing. He's not bringing proof for it, and America will prevail. Okay, so that's the logos of his argument. All right, in the remaining 15 minutes, I want to show you something which I wish there were more things like this on YouTube. But someone took the 2016 presidential debates between Clinton and Trump, and they did a play-by-play for the different ethos, pathos, and logos points. Okay, so this is an 8-minute video. She starts off with her summary of what ethos, pathos, and logos are, but let's skip that. Well, she's doing. We'll see how she introduces. Because if you remember, no one really wanted to like watch Trump be Trump against Hillary Clinton and watch Hillary Clinton. Like it was not a fun debate. I mean, okay. Like, there was, no matter who you supported, it's just not going to be a pleasant experience. Okay, so then she defines what all the things are. Now, she goes very fast, so we're going to pause and analyze. Sorry, that's the loudest it goes. Now, this is something to point out here. Okay, we've been talking about ethos, pathos, and logos as ways. Okay, as ways to let's say to boost your own credibility based on your character. But there's also ethos attacks, where he's attacking her character in the debate. Okay, so ethos attack: Clinton can't make anything happen; she's ineffective. Okay, so this is.
Oh, it's like you tell them that they're really good at something, and then you like bring them.
Yes,
down.
also good, right? And this is the and that's I don't know who this person is, but she names the rhetorical technique concessio, used to make logos arguments stronger, agreeing with a point against you. You've got more experience than me, and then turning that point to your advantage. But it's bad experience.
No,
okay.
I do this a lot in the apology.
Yeah. Yeah.
What apology?
It's a Plato thing. Plato, not Play-Doh. Now, this I would think, now that we've seen close to 4 years of his presidency, this is one of his I think Pathos, Pathos I think is what he uses the most effectively, right? Is he tries to make people feel things, right? That's how he got elected. That's how he attacks his enemies. That's how, so in this case, inciting fear in the crowd that this country is going to become a mess if you become president. Bonus device, apodoxis, used in Logos arguments, refusal of an opponent's argument as invalid. Okay, fine.
Who are you supposed to believe?
That's why we have to study rhetoric. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like just saying it's not
All right, here we go.
Please just stop the whole point of it.
Hey, let's listen. Okay, someone says, so Edith's an answer, I fight for racial equality. Logos, a big, long string of evidence proving that her experience is better than his. So this is her responding to him trying to invalidate her experience. So this is what she's going to do here. And antithesis is another rhetorical device contrasting figures. I do this, he does that. I do this, he does that. Okay, so let's. Oops, sorry. Even you would be proud of it. Ethos Attack, you were actually ashamed of America. By the way, just to remind you here, okay, this does not mean that any of these points are true. This is just what he is trying to do, right? So he says she's so incompetent that she created ISIS, right?
Obviously a joke. It's obviously a metaphor.
No, he actually believed and was arguing that her actions were responsible, or her administration's actions, or the administration that she was a part of, and the decision she made led to the creation of ISIS. But
Isn't it also like
yes,
yeah,
definitely,
so
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
It's just like common. Trump is like,
Yeah, exactly. And this is why. Did anyone know the famous the first televised presidential debate and what happened? Yeah. No. It was JFK versus. Yes, it was another. How did you know that the debate was another person?
Wait.
I want to say Harrison, but that's
No.
no.
So this is JFK and Richard Nixon. Okay. Now here's the thing. You know Richard Nixon as an evil person, right? But you got to remember that his he was before the Watergate scandal. He was not. He didn't have that in that reputation. And then his second election, I think, was one of the biggest presidential sweeps in history. Okay, but the problem was like this: is up until that point, presidential debates were by radio. Okay, and Nixon had the advantage because he spoke like an elder statesman in terms of like knowing what he was doing. And what was Kennedy's disadvantage? He was young, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but Then they go on TV. And what was Kennedy's advantage?
He's very
looks
good.
Is
good.
everyone loved how good looking he was, and Richard Nixon had a sweaty nose, okay, and he had a scowling face. So they say that like the fact that that debate went to the TV, that's what like lost the debates for Nixon, which eventually like lost him the election. So the answer is yes. Is the facial expressions, the positioning. All of this is part of rhetoric. Also, anyone remember what Trump did on stage with Hillary Clinton when this is a famous thing in terms of bodily position? He, I don't remember how many debates, if this was just one debate or multiple debates, but there was a debate where they were like walking around, like here they're at podiums, you know, but there's a debate where they were like, they could walk around and the audience was seated in like a circle. So he would position himself behind her, like looming over her, so that the camera would see him like looking over her, and that was intentional. Like that was to try to like, you know, make her seem small or like to make him seem powerful. Other famous TV moments with the debates is there was a debate with George H.W. Bush, with George W. Bush's father, and I think during the debate, while his opponent was speaking, he looked at his watch, and people were like, "What? This guy, like, you know, like the country's at stake, and like he just can't wait for it to get over, you know." So like, yes, all these things can contribute to rhetorical like success or failure. I mean, they're allowed to write notes during the thing, but it is impromptu, you know. Okay, let's. See, now, by the way, that was an example of what we would call, it was logos, but it was, it's not a good argument. She gave us ISIS as sure as you're sitting there. So what's the argument is, if you are sure that you're sitting there, then you should be sure that she gave us ISIS, right? That's not even a logical argument, right? But it's, I don't think it's even slippery slope. I think it's false analogy.
It could just be a metaphor. Yeah. And a way to use words. I mean, I barely heard that. I'm deaf. If it's a fact,
It's an argument, but I feel like before that, like that wasn't, you can't like take that sentence out of context.
Yeah. I mean, this is a snippet from an entire debate, but. I guess that's the end of the video.
Wait, I have a question though.
Yeah.
Do they have questions? Do they have a question beforehand or just,
I mean, they can guess certain types of questions, but they don't get. I don't think they get a list of like the questions that they're going to be asked. Let's just see what her concluding point is. I don't think I've seen this. Never mind. It was just about her video. Yeah. What was that?
No. I hope
So what I wanted to ask you, actually, I was going to send this out as a survey, but I might as well ask now. We are obviously going to be, you know, soon seeing this year's version of this, right? However that looks, of presidential debates and everything like that. And yeah, well, here's what I wanted to ask is, I think as American citizens, it's important for you, even if you don't like politics, to like follow politics to a certain extent, okay? And because this is a class on rhetoric, then I think it would be beneficial for us to keep up with the presidential race from a rhetorical analysis standpoint and analyze, like, you know, things in the debate itself, campaign ads, all this other stuff. And I just want to get a sense of like, how interested or not interested are you guys in politics, or like what's the general feeling here?
Together, like
Yeah.
like watch it and analyze it together.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
I feel like a lot of it gets into like.
No, but here's the thing. We're not going to discuss the issues. We were going to discuss the rhetoric. Okay. Yeah.
No,
I don't
I'm such
know.
a fan of
I don't
it.
know
It's
about
kind of
that.
like a can of worms. I don't know. I'm not super political, but if anyone's curious, I don't know. I don't really like when people get.
Should I send out a survey so that people can answer without yeah.
I don't know.
No, but I
I don't
think
wanna
it's
do it all
also
the
good
time.
to hear.
Not all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Examples into politics. You know what you're talking about.
Right, but again,
I'm
I'm
not gonna wanna watch it twice. Like if I watch it on my own time, I'm not gonna wanna watch it again in class and analyze.
we're not going to be watching. We have 45-minute classes. We're not going to be watching, spending entire class watching the debate. I'm just trying to think about how I want to. Yeah. Okay.
I'm for it.
Yeah. All right. Let's call it quits for today. Okay. Have a good Rosh Hashanah.